Now, some graphs showing the levels of technical vulnerabilities in 2008. I don't want to go into too much details. What's really important is that most of the vulnerabilities in 2008 led to full system access. That's 18 vulnerabilities that would lead to full system access. That's more than one per month. That's 1.5 per month. So each month there's at least one vulnerability that can be used by the bad guys in order to gain full system access without the user clicking on anything, without the user doing anything. And this is a good example of social engineering. This is a screenshot of the famous Mac DNS changer. It's a DNS changer that affects Mac computers. It's the same old story, a video player showcasing itself as a real player in this case, and the user needs to supposedly download the codec in order to view the movie. The codec is, of course, the Trojan, which is disguised. This is a screen. Does anybody know this screenshot? Have you heard of Conficker? Well, we call it Kido. Do you know why we call it Kido, by the way? Sorry? Kill Bill, yeah. It's exactly. The virus analyst that was analyzing the virus back then, he was a really good fan of Kill Bill, and that's why he named it Kido, and in the night he was working. So this is how, this is one of the methods of used by Kido in order to spread. Kido used a few methods in order to spread. This is the social engineering part. If you use memory sticks or external drives, when you plug them into your computer, a window like this appears, and you usually have the option to install or run the program, or to open the folder to view the files. And the educated user knows that they shouldn't run a program without knowing what it is. So the educated user knows that he should open the file to view open the folder to view the files. And what the Kido authors did was they named the executable file exactly open folder to view files. So an educated user that is not paying attention, he would click on this instead of this, and his computer would instantly become infected. One of the other spreading vectors for Kido was trying to crack network passwords, network admin passwords, so it could spread automatically from one computer to another. So here's a list of passwords extracted from the worm. Simple passwords, passwords like 1234, mypass, xxx, stuff like this. So most of the people think that, okay, they need a strong password for the internet, but for their own computer, they can easily go with a simple password, because who is going to try and crack their computer password? Well, it's not necessarily a human. A computer worm can also try to crack a computer password. So if you have passwords like these in your computers, you should better change them. So we've talked about how traffic is diverted from legitimate websites to malicious websites. All the social networks are exploited by the bad guys in order to deliver traffic to their malicious websites. Once the user reaches the malicious website, two things can happen. The bad guys can take advantage of either the human factor or the technical factor in order to obtain a victim. And the victim computers are then gathered into botnets which are then used to drive the infections further. So everything is like a closed vicious circle. Now, Kubeface, have you ever heard about Kubeface? There was some noise being made lately in the social networking worlds about Kubeface. So Kubeface is how I like to call it, the Web 2.0 worm. It was discovered 1 year ago in the summer of 2008 by us, Kaspersky Lab. Back then it was only targeting Facebook and MySpace. It was spreading through the users of Facebook and MySpace. Authors, most likely from Ukraine, they continued to develop Kubeface. Each month we've seen more and more modifications of it. Right now, very recently, they've added a module for Kubeface to be able to spread using Twitter. What Kubeface is doing, it's once a computer gets infected, that computer starts sending messages to all of the friends of the person, of that person's on all the social networks. And the links are usually something like, hey, check out this video I found of you on the internet, with a link to a fake video site, with a fake codec, the same old story, but you'd be surprised how many people are falling for this trick. And this is happening because social networks, the bad guys are taking advantage of the trust that we have in each other. So People are more likely to click on a link that they receive from one of their friends inside a social network than, let's say, compared to a link that they receive in the random email message that reaches to their inbox. So when you receive a link from one of your trusted friends, you're more likely to click on it than if the link was from a random source on the internet. And here is a graphic that clearly shows the evolution of Kubeface. This is the number of modifications that we've identified. We've been witnessing an explosion since the beginning of this summer. This is a proof that the bad guys are realizing that this tactic is really powerful, and they're gaining profits from it, so they're working harder and harder to develop it. Yeah, this is a screenshot of how Kubeface is spreading on Twitter. As you can see, these are the links. Once every few minutes, one new Twitter user was getting infected by this specific variant of Kubeface. People fall for this. Thousands of people fall for these tricks, and unfortunately, it's a bad thing, and we're trying to stop it. This is the website that is delivering the Kubeface payload. It's a pretty bad copy of YouTube, but it's still a player which asks you to download the new version of Adobe Flash. The new version of Adobe Flash Player is actually the payload of the virus. In the meantime, they've actually updated the web page. The web page really looks like YouTube. It's not this lame copy. In the meantime, we've also updated the product. It's not 2009, it's 2010. So everybody's working on it. Now, to draw some conclusions, Web 2.0 attacks are very similar to the way email worms used to spread 10 or 15 years ago. The difference is that the infection success rate of this kind of malware is 10 times higher than it was with email worms. And this is because what I've told you earlier, people have trust in each other. People have relationships on social networks. So when they receive such links, they are more likely to click on them. Now, the problem with social networks is that the threats coming from there are not limited to malware. There's also personal data leakage, privacy concerns, and I'll show you some examples of it. Do you know this guy? It's a famous singer. Bono, yes, this is Bono. An interesting story happened with Bono. These pictures weren't made for the public. They shouldn't have reached the internet, but of course they did. And it's an interesting story how this happened. Bono was attending a party somewhere in New York. It was a secret party. Nobody really knew about it. It was invitation only, no press, no journalists. Even his wife didn't know about the party. So at the party, he met some really nice ladies. They took some pictures in bathing suits next to the pool. And these girls, when they came home, they wanted to show off to all their friends that they've met Bono in real life and took pictures with him. So they've uploaded the pictures to Facebook. But what they didn't know was that their privacy settings on Facebook allowed anyone in their network to access their pictures. And their network was New York. You can imagine how many millions of people were in the network named New York. So this is how these pictures got leaked over the internet and all over the world. And that was a pretty good example of how dangerous can sharing all this information be. And okay, these are just the pictures that got leaked, but imagine if you go, for example, in a holiday and you leave your house empty, you leave your house without anybody in it, you post to Twitter that you're in the holiday. This is actually a true story. I was doing a podcast the other day with one of my colleagues from ThreadPost, and he was telling me a story that he's seen on TV in the United States before coming here to Europe. There was a girl who got her house robbed. She went into holidays, and when she got back, her house was empty. There were no jewelry, no electronics, no nothing. And she was giving a TV interview, and she was saying, well, I didn't tell anybody I went to vacation. I only posted it to Twitter. So what the hell? If you post it to Twitter, if you're dumb enough to do this, you must be dumb enough to get your house robbed. So problems with social networks are not only limited to the technical stuff. They can also get into the real life.